want to thank you for attending our inaugural induction of our new Rio Grande High School Athletics Hall of Fame. I'm Leslie Jackson, the Activities Director, and it has been an honor to work with our inductees and everyone in the community on this project. At this time, I would like to introduce our principal and proud Raven alumni and former Letterman in basketball, Mrs. Antoinette Valenzuela.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. This couldn't have happened without the vision of us collectively working together. So, Ms. Jackson, Coach Pino, thank you for this amazing idea to recognize all of you guys. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So thank you first and foremost for you guys being able to come and enjoy this evening with us. The beauty about this is we are not forgetting our past, because that defines who we are right now in the present. So without all of you guys, without all of your hard work and determination, we wouldn't be able to say who we are as Ravens, right? We are definitely the pride of the South Valley. We drive, all of us, whether you swung those bats on the softball or the baseball fields, whether you were shooting hoops, whether you were on the track, whether you were in the stands, your commitment, your coaching, your commitment and dedication, we are grateful for that. We know that a lot of heart is put on the courts, the fields, in order to to be an athlete is something very special. To be a coach is something special, and to be the fans in the community is special. So we wanted to definitely recognize that. As you guys look behind you, that is our new gym. So we are super excited and super proud, and you guys will be the first inductee class of our Hall of Fame. So I want to congratulate you and thank you, as I always send everyone off with pride, heart, and desire from the bottom of my heart, and as a proud Raven, gracias.
Thank you, Mrs. Valenzuela. It's my honor to introduce a few other special guests that we have here with us tonight. Assistant Principal Jenna Bloodworth. These two ladies to my right are our outgoing senior class president and senior vice president, also both athletes at Rio Grande, Melanie Hernandez and Esperanza Rios. At this time, it's my honor to invite our athletic director, Coach Pino, up here.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I can breathe. Welcome guests, welcome dignitaries of Rio Grande athletics and activities, and welcome Rio Grande community and Rio Grande nation. It's an honor to be here at this time to recognize some outstanding individuals that are here not so much for their success on the field and on the court, but for their perseverance of making the youth of Rio Grande community better and of helping these individuals. And I think all of you deserve a thank you. As I came in, I was watching looking at the tables, and this is like a who's who of Rio Grande dignitaries. I saw Natalie Martinez, All-American, All-State. She's the one, and with our principal, who got the ball rolling as far as basketball in the community of Rio Grande High School. Thank you. I saw Mike Walker back in 1966, excuse me. Mike Walker, big number 25, was a domineering person in basketball. He played football, basketball, and baseball, and excelled. I don't see that little flat top crew cut that you used to have, but I still recognize you. Sheila Burrell. That's synonymous with Rio Grande girls sports at Rio Grande High School. All-state, college Division I, Olympian two times. Sheila Burrell. One thing, I used to talk a lot with Coach Jones, Prentice Jones, her coach. And he once said to me, you know, I am very lucky, and in his words, I am very blessed to have an individual like Sheila Burrell in my program. I had it in my program. Sure, she was a great athlete with many skills and many accomplishments. But he says, you know, Coach Pino, I would have liked her. She would have been good for the program, even if she was just an average athlete. Thank you, Sheila Burrell. Art de la Cruz, I saw him here. And like always, the gentleman that he is, friendly, courteous, and he was a good coach here at Rio. He was responsible and helped in giving Rio one of their first state championships in wrestling in 1984. And any kid that goes to that swimming pool over there should thank that man for what he did to get us a swimming pool on the Rio Grande campus, Mr. Art de la Cruz. Ron Contreras, deceased. I got to work with Coach Contreras. Not many of you know this. He was a football player. He was a basketball player. He was a baseball player. He didn't do wrestling, but the opportunity came that they offered him a job at Rio if he would coach wrestling. And he wanted to be here at Rio so badly, he says, I'll do it. And he brought to Rio their first state championship, Ron Contreras. And he kept giving. After he finished coaching, he went into event managing. I remember always introducing him as Gym Master Extraordinaire, because he took care of detail, Coach Contreras. Prentice Jones. I could say a lot for him, because I consider myself probably the person that knew him longest, because I went to college with him. And what you saw in college is what you saw here this year. The same person, humble. But let me bring to the stand a person that knew him, that worked with him through all these years. Coach Callahan, would you do me the honor of speaking? Thank you, Coach.
Hi, everyone. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Coach Callahan. I had the honor and the privilege to run for Coach and coach alongside with him for 30 years. This would have been my 30th year with Coach. People, if you describe Coach Jones, he was a loving, godly, kind man. And he would take the shirt off his back to give it to you if you needed it. And he, with his athlete, Sheila, he was proud of you. He spoke about you all the time. And not only you, but all of his athletes he spoke about and loved them dearly. You needed a physical, Coach Jones made sure you had a physical. You needed shoes, Coach Jones made sure you had shoes. That's the kind of man Coach Jones was, and I'll always remember it. So thank you. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to speak about him. I love him dearly. He was like, this is the way I'm going to put it. There's my husband, but he was my track husband for 30 years. You know, I spoke to that man every day during season. Off season, maybe 3 times out of the week, but we spoke all the time. To his family, he loved you dearly. You were his pride and joy, all of you. He spoke about you highly. He loved you dearly. Till probably the last breath he took, you guys were on his mind. So before Coach passed, this is what he told me. That's why I'm trying to pull it together. Because he called me on Friday, then called me Saturday and Sunday night. He said, Coach, don't worry about me. He said, I'm going to be okay. He said, I worry about you because you're a crybaby. So kind of hold it together, be there for our athletes, and I'll be back. So that's the Coach Jones that I'm proud to be a part of with his team for 30 years. And I love him dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Callahan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rio Grande High School opened in 1958-59, the school year. That was the first year. Their second year, they had a graduating class. Their first athletic director was Al Wright. He had the job of being their first football coach, their first wrestling coach, their first baseball coach, started cross country, and that was Al Wright. In this time, in the 70s, there was a young man, John Hood, an athlete that participated in football, basketball, and track. And the coaches, they loved this kid. They loved his attitude. And they, in Rio Grande, reciprocated by, the coaches did, by establishing the John Hood Memorial. So the L Wright, which is given to the all-around athlete here at Rio Grande, is one of our major awards, and the John Hood is another award given to athletes picked by coaches in their program. They don't have to be the best athlete, but it's the athlete that they work best with, most cooperative, most responsible. Those are 2 major awards given here at Rio Grande High School in athletics. Rio Grande has 20 sports, and we fill all the sports. Our kids all have opportunities to play. And Mrs. Valenzuela has not only sworn to do it, she is doing it, making sure that they get the best athletic training by establishing athletic classes for all our sports, which is a plus. That's a thank you. At this time, I want to give this microphone back to Mrs. Leslie Jackson. And I've got to be honest, a while ago I was introduced as one of the, as the effort to get this happen. Let me set the record straight. The person mostly responsible, 99.9 responsible for this whole thing, for setting up, for the meal, everything, goes on the shoulders of Leslie Jackson. I am very thankful that she took this upon her. Thank you.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. Before we start with our induction ceremonies, I want to recognize a lot of our great Rio Grande coaches who are here tonight. If I can have you guys stand up, We've got our baseball coaches, we've got track coaches, volleyball. We wouldn't still be here without the efforts of these individuals, so let's give them a round of applause. The Rio Grande High School Athletics Hall of Fame has been a long time coming. Tonight we officially will induct our inaugural class, and you will have a brand new display case that will last for 1 year with our inaugural class, with our inductees every year over in that brand new gym that we all can agree has been a long time coming. And we are going to invite you back when that opens this fall so that you can see it and we can celebrate and you guys can watch the Ravens have a victory on the hardwood. And if we start losing, we're going to suit up Natalie and Antoinette. The first category that we have tonight is our notables category. This category recognizes an individual or a family who's continually supported and improved our athletics. This family is the Gallegos family. And for those of you who don't know it, it started with Pete as a coach with basketball. Mary Ellen came along to help him, and in them, they spread the spirit of the Ravens to their children, Tony, Andy, Paul, and Trish. So they will be going in as our notable category. Let's give them a round of applause. As all of the Ravens know, we have a rich history with our wrestling program. And our next category is the team category. This was one of the hardest ones for our committee. For those of you who don't know, all of our inductees were selected by an 8-person committee. We've chosen to keep them secret, so that way we can't have anyone campaigning and they're in here on their own athletic merits. It is comprised of alumni, current students, staff, and community members. They said this was their toughest category because we've had so many great Raven teams. The Raven team that's going in tonight had 13 young men on them, and they left a lasting impression on our program for years to come. The wrestling team competed when there were 12 weight divisions. The team had 11 members, and they competed in 11 divisions. Each of those members went on to win state or place in state. The 1984 wrestling team will be going in our team category. We're going to get to the good stuff now. We're going to get to where we get to call up our athletes and our coaches. And if you guys would like to, you are more than welcome to speak. I know there's a lot of inductees who wanted to speak, so we're going to get to hear from some really cool people here. We all know the impact that a coach can have on their athletes. Our next category recognizes the men and women who have helped our Ravens soar. They continue to guide them when they're away from the nest of Rio Grande High School, and their athletes always look back on them fondly. Our first inductee in the coaches category was a Raven before he was a coach. As a letterman at Rio Grande High School, he could relate to our athletes because he was born and raised here in the South Valley. As a young man, he sometimes strayed from the path, but Coach Keith Griffith led him to wrestling. Art de la Cruz has often said that wrestling saved his life and changed his life's trajectory. Small in frame but determined in spirit, Art earned a scholarship to wrestle at the University of New Mexico. He would return to his alma mater to help youth like him. In the early 1980s, he would help develop a program that included our freshman wrestlers that we still have today. He would lead the Ravens to win 2 championships. And in the early 1990s, he recognized a need outside of Rio. He recognized a need for young men and young women to have a wrestling program, which led to the birth of the Wolfpack wrestling program. Outside of wrestling, he has committed to enriching our South Valley through his work with Bernalillo Parks and Rec, along with his role as county commissioner and state representative. He's enriched countless Ravens. Please welcome Art de la Cruz, former wrestling coach and class of 1975 graduate. Yes, absolutely. Our microphone stands up right.
Thank you. I think I'm going to also win the Overdressed Award as well. My wife made me do it. This is an incredible honor. It's very humbling. I know I'm not the greatest athlete to ever be at Rio. When I see all of you, and I know many others that aren't here, I deeply appreciate this honor. But if there's anything that being recognized, and hopefully you all being recognized, is that somehow in our own little way, it somehow propels our young students, our current Ravens and future Ravens to move forward, to have some level of success. You know, I never placed in state. Wow, that's the end of that guy's wrestling career. Somehow I ended up with a Division I scholarship, competed at UNM, started at UNM, and so that in its own way says to a kid, hey, if that guy who wasn't a top athlete as a kid somehow could get a scholarship and start on a team, and by the way, I met my wife at UNM, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And so if that's the lesson, I hope that somehow makes its way to young people. I want to thank all of the staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coach. Our next inductee follows our trend of wrestling excellence at Rio, and as Coach Pino had spoke about earlier, it is Coach Ron Contreras. As a teacher, he was the teacher that the kids wanted to have because he was a fun coach. It didn't matter if you were the most talented athlete or if you were less than talented, he always had a place for you. He led the wrestling to countless district championships and individual titles. Coach Ron Contreras did pass away recently in the last few years, and Coach Pino will be accepting on his behalf.
Thank you, Coach, Ms. Jackson. And if Coach Contreras was here at this time, I know that he wouldn't have got up here and had a long speech. It would have been short. It would have been to the point. And you would have felt a very heartfelt thank you from him. Coach Contreras, this honor goes to you because you deserved it. Thank you.
Our final inductee in the coaches category left an impact on everyone at Rio's campus. Up until last year, he was continuing to coach our cross country and our track programs. And while I knew Coach Jones, I don't think I can do him justice speaking on his behalf. So we have asked a longtime friend and fellow coach, Dan Maestas, to speak for him. Please welcome Dan.
Well, I wrote something down because I didn't know how long I was going to be able to hold this and pull a Dick Vermeil. You know who Dick Vermeil is? He's the biggest crybaby of NFL. Anyways, hello, my name is Dan Maestas. I'm a proud Rio Grande High School alumni, class of 1979. I'm honored to be here to introduce and recognize Coach Prentice Jones on his induction into the Rio Grande High School Athletic Hall of Fame. On behalf of Coach Jones, I know he would want to first and foremost thank Rio Grande High School, the current, previous administration, the community, colleagues, and students for his recognition. Coach Jones was a person who wanted to keep things simple, never boasting or bragging of his accomplishments. He prepared his student athletes not just to participate to the best of their ability on the track, but off the track as well. He was a faithful man who was devoted to his family and his students. He was a respectful man and a man of integrity. I had the great privilege of being coached by Prentice Jones as a high school track and cross-country athlete, as well as coaching alongside him, which, by the way, was the most exciting time that I had with Coach Jones. I had he was also a mentor and a friend to myself and to so many others. Over his 47 plus years of coaching, he experienced a great deal of change. In early years, it was common for track athletes to carry spoons, to dig out holes in the cinder tracks that we all grew up with back then. So I am going to date myself as well as Coach Jones here. But these were for the starting blocks. And so the span of coaching took him from handheld timers to electronic timing systems, not to mention there were no computers or cell phones in those days. He handled the changes with continued optimism. Coach Jones had a true excitement each year with the start of a new season and a new energy. He was proud to have coached so many, including Sheila Burrell, and those were very exciting years. I can share with you a story when we would go into the gym at Milne Stadium at Wilson, and on Saturday mornings, you do what they call a scratch meeting. And that means that you either scratch an athlete for the purpose of either they didn't make the bus, or they were sick, whatever reason they weren't there. Well, those years that we had Sheila Burrell and my team of boys that we had that year, we would go in there and play with the other coaches. We would load up our entries. We probably had Sheila running the 800 meters. Probably didn't know and realize that she was going to be doing that when she was in the Olympics. Yes. Anyway, she ended up doing the 800 meters when she was a heptathlete. But we would sit there and watch other coaches just wait and see who we were going to scratch, just so that they could go ahead and put their athletes in other events so that they could maybe gain some points as well. Those are very truly exciting years. As a track coach, when you get to do that kind of you want to call it strategy, that's what track and field is all about. You know, you get to get in there and do the things that you normally wouldn't do if you didn't have kids going to state and so forth. And those were very exciting years for both Coach and I. Prentice was from a military family, with his dad being stationed at Kirtland Air Force Base. He went to the University of New Mexico, graduated in 1970. He coached and taught for 1 year in Gallup. And here's interesting. It wasn't track and cross country that he taught at Gallup. He was an assistant coach with football. So when he came to Rio, that was his first coaching stint back in 1972. He was assistant coach with Coach Ochsner, several other coaches that we Coach Pino, we know, you know, so that was his first stint of coaching at Rio Grande High School. He went on to be the head boys cross country and head boys track and field coach, and this evolved into being the head boys and girls cross country coach, and then the head girls and track and field coach. He dedicated his teaching and coaching at Rio Grande until his death in 2020. Again, 47 plus seasons. Coach loved the Rio Grande high school community. He had offers to coach at other schools, but chose to come here. And for 47 years, he dedicated his time, obviously away from his family, but he loved this community. 47 years. I don't know anybody that could do that much at one school like Coach did. Once again, on behalf of Coach Prentice, Leon Jones, and just so you know, the only person that could call him Leon was his wife, Mary. So you knew when she called him Leon, he was either in trouble or had to throw out the trash or something. But that was his full name. I'd like to thank his family for the support throughout the years, guys. You know what? That's commitment on your part, and the unconditional love you had for your dad, for the love that he always wanted to do, and that was to be out here with the kids and the community of Rio Grande High School. In his many years of coaching, he still found it in his heart to work with all of us. And so, sincere appreciation goes to Athletic Director Pete Pino. The hallways are not going to be the same anymore, because if you ever hear Coach Jones and Coach Pino talk to each other in the hallway, it would go something like this. Coacher, how you doing? Coach Pino will respond, Coach, how you doing? And so, last but not least, I have to recognize this person because I remember Coach calling me, and he said, Dan, guess who just came to my office and wants to coach? And I was like, I don't know, who would want to coach at Rio Grande High School as an assistant and get paid so little? And you know what? He said, Coach, Joanne Callahan wants to come and coach with me. I said, oh my gosh, Coach, that is awesome. So here's to Assistant Coach Callahan, 30 years, the friend and sidekick of Coach Jones. Thank you. We were blessed by your presence, Coach Jones, for so many years and feel your continued love and guiding light. Thank you, Coach Jones. We love you.
Thank you, Coach Maestas. If we can have Francine Jones come up and accept the plaque on behalf of her father. Let's have one more round of applause for our induction of coaches. I can't help but think that we already have some coaches on their way up into our categories in the next few years, sitting in front of us. So we appreciate our Rio coaches even more. We're going to move on to our athletes category, and we know that there have been so many talented athletes who've graced the gym, played on our fields, just represented Rio Grande to the best they could, even in the times when no one liked Rio Grande. Our first inductee competed in 3 sports while at Rio: football, basketball, and baseball. He excelled in all 3 sports, and during his time at Rio, he even played for one of our most notable coaches, Al Wright. He especially excelled as catcher, where he was recognized with both all-city and state honors for 3 consecutive years. To my younger students who are sitting here, Rio was a 3-year school at that time. Following graduation, he would go on to play baseball at the University of Albuquerque on the Rio Grande. Also to my students, that's not UNM. Ask your mom and dad and your grandparents, they'll tell you about it. Throughout his career, Michael Walker found a way to give back to the South Valley. While minor league baseball took him away from the South Valley, it was always in his heart. He served on the board of directors for the Albuquerque Boys Club, the YMCA, helped design and supervise the construction of our very own swimming pool, as well as the first library building for Bernalillo County Mobile Library. He's developed Tom Tenorio Park and continues to give back. Please welcome Michael Walker, outstanding athlete, class of 1966.
I'd like to take you back about 55 years, if I could, just for a minute. It's the winter of 1966, and Rio had been open about 6 or 7 years. They had never had a winter in basketball, but during that season, things caught fire throughout the South Valley, and people began to talk about the group of guys they had here. It was a wonderful group, and they were the first team ever to go to the state championship, and that's something that I'm very proud of. And I mention this in dedication to 2 of the guys that were on that squad that are no longer with us. I'd like to take a minute, just if I may, to introduce the love of my life, my family, Sam, his wife Lori, my 2 grandkids, Dylan and Tristan, and my wife Cynthia. And I want to thank you so much. This means so much to me. It's really a great honor, and I appreciate it very much. I appreciate Pete and Leslie and all the work that the staff did on this. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. When I first heard about it, I think I even got tears in my eyes when I was receiving the call from Leslie Jackson. So thank you so much.
Our next athlete has left an impact on Rio like none other. She literally has represented us as a Raven around the world. She was a multi-sport athlete and excelled at track and field. And by now, you guys know it's no secret, it's Sheila Burrell. As one of the nation's best athletes, she competed at both the 2000 Sydney Games and the 2004 Athens Games. She's been a multiple-time U.S. national champion. She's won the bronze medal at the 2001 World Championships, which was the first medal since Jackie Joyner-Kersee won. She's competed multiple times at the U.S. Outdoor Track and Field Championships, and in addition to her individual accomplishments as a track and field athlete, she's had a major impact on the athletes as head track and field coach at San Diego State University, where they've won multiple championships. She was recently named Coach of the Year again last week. I have to share a personal note about Sheila. As an athletic trainer, I've worked professional hockey for 25 years and pro rodeo for 22. I was blown away when I called her, and she was so excited and moved to tears. The first words out of her mouth were something like, "Thank you, I'm a proud South Valley girl." Being on the staff at Rio, I understand exactly what that means because you are family as Ravens. I was amazed how humble she was, and especially that she took the time to fly out here this evening on a quick trip. She's meeting her team tomorrow, and then they're driving to a championship too. We could talk all night about our own Olympian because we're proud as heck about her, but let's welcome Sheila Burrell.
Thank you. I didn't write anything, and I talk a lot, so I'm going to try not to. First, I want to congratulate all the other inductees. It's an honor to be here to be a part of the inaugural class of the Rio Grande Hall of Fame. I'm very, very grateful that you are doing this, Coach Pino, Leslie, Ms. Valenzuela, because it's something that should have been done a long time ago. Should have been a long time ago, but as a student athlete, being a student athlete here at Rio Grande and then going on and having the success I've had in college and then on to the Olympics and competing internationally and traveling all over the world, I was one of those people who never forgot where I came from. So, sorry, I never forgot where I came from. I think my first international medal that I won was from the Pan Am Games to 1999, I think, my first international medal. So I had to have been about 27, 28 years old when I won my first international medal. No, that's not right. I made my first Olympic team at 28, so I've been like 26 years old. My first international medal. My very first international medal that I won, I dedicated to Rio Grande High School. Because that was the impact that this community had on me as an individual, as a young woman growing up in the South Valley. From the sense of the family, the community. When Leslie called me and asked me about some of my experiences at Rio Grande, I will say this. Actually, the question you asked me was, who are my idols and my people I looked up to when I was at Rio Grande? And my answer was, I never looked up to another athlete until I met Jackie Joyner-Kersee. She's the top for me. But I never looked up to any individual celebrity or athlete. I always looked up to my teachers at Rio Grande. I cannot tell you how many people from this community and from this school who have impacted my life. I'm still friends with my freshman year English teacher. I was at her house during the pandemic, chilling. You know, Sandra Walkwell, who was the volleyball coach here when I was here. I was a freshman on the varsity volleyball team. Sandy just put me on. I never played volleyball before in my life, but I call her Sandra D. Sandra Rockwell put me on the varsity volleyball team my freshman year and taught me how to play volleyball. She did not retire until I graduated. Her commitment to me was that I'm not going to retire from Rio Grande until I was done. She was my mother here at Rio Grande. Coach Jones. I didn't get a chance to make it to his funeral. When I talked to Francine, and everybody called me. Edward Lacey called me. Danny called me. Ria Padaka called me. Everybody called me when Coach Jones passed away. That man has had such a profound impact on my life And I know we've already honored him, we're talking a lot about him, but I need to thank his family for the amount of time that he spent with us. I mean, I was at his house before the state meet watching Chariots of Fire. Did not understand the movie at the time. We'd go to your house, and Coach Jones wouldn't say anything. He doesn't talk very much. He'd feed us, and he'd turn the movie on. We sit on the couch and watch Chariots of Fire at Coach Jones' house. And so, that man has profoundly impacted my life, so much so that whenever I came back to visit, I would always call him to let him know how I'm doing. When I was in college, I would call him and let him know, this is what's happening, this is what I did. I stayed in touch with him. I can't tell you how many people, my English teachers, Alan Marks, I can name all the teachers at Rio Grande. My English, I was an enriched and honors student here. I was actually on Student Senate as a treasurer, my year as a treasurer. Involved in lots of activities, but the community at Rio Grande High School had such a profound impact on me that the people that I look up to this day are the people who impacted my life when I was here, both academically and athletically. I went on to major in English literature in college. I came because of my teachers at Rio Grande High School. I was a lit major because of my English teachers. Giovanni Dent stayed here for 1 or 2 years, taught me a lot about writing. I read so many books at Rio Grande High School. They think that we're not, we're Rio. They think we don't have sidewalks down here and, everybody barely speaks English and, we're a bunch of cholos and essays. And I grew up in Valley Gardens, right there on Gun Club Road, right? All the cholos used to hang out right over there. All the athletes used to hang out there. All the smart kids used to hang out over nowhere. I can tell you, my experience here as a student athlete is memorable and it's meaningful to me. And so for me to be a part of this inaugural class, when Leslie called me, of course the first thing I say, I'm a proud South Valley girl, I'll be there. Before she even asked me, are you gonna come? I will be there. I will spend $800 to be here. I will be there because I wanted to make sure that I honored Coach Jones and because of the impact that this community and this school has had on my life. And in saying that, and then I'll stop talking, there's so much more I can say. In saying that, I want to say that it's, I've asked to come back and speak at Rio several times over the years. I mean, I've actually called Rio Grande and said, hey, I will come speak to the students here at Rio Grande over the years because I've always remembered the pride that we had here. Like, I can't tell you the years that I was at Rio Grande, we had some serious pride. I mean, we had so much pride that we would fight. I wouldn't fight, but somebody else would fight. When we went to certain places, and we were trying to leave that place. Our football team, had Jude Greg on the team. We went to state championship that year. Our wrestling team was good. Our women's volleyball team was good. I played women's basketball. All of our sports and the community supported this school. And it was, and academically, like, I went on a college trip from Rio Grande High School. Went to Stanford, went to UCLA, went to a California college tour because my teachers here at Rio Grande wanted to expose us to as much as possible. That's the Rio Grande that I remember, is that they exposed me to the world. That's why my teachers are were people that I looked up to and had the most impact on me because they gave me so much exposure. I learned how to eat with chopsticks from one of my teachers at Rio Grande High School. Little things like that, you don't think that matter. But when you're a South Valley kid, right? I'm a black kid, grew up in South Valley. When I went to college, my friends were Mexican. They were all Latinos, right? I spoke Spanish. Green chili chicken enchiladas was my favorite. I'm a black kid that grew up in the South Valley and loved every single second of it, right? So when I traveled out into the world, and yes, I've been able to go to college at UCLA, graduated there, went on and traveled the world, and I just got back from Italy from 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm all these different places in the world. I'm a proud South Valley girl. When it really comes down to it. And so, what's important to me about asking over the years, depending on who the activities director was or the principal was, if I can come back and speak, is because I think that I agree. I want to shake your hand before I leave, by the way. I agree that we want to give these young people something to aspire to and to look up to. It was a lot easier when I was in school, when all of us were being, it was a lot easier than it is now. I'm a college coach. I know how difficult it is out there for these young people. You know, I'm a college coach, so I'm on the same level as they are, but trying to make sure that, trying to stay connected to them, but also be able to be a mentor and a mother figure to a lot of them. And so it's important to me to come back to my own school that gave me so much to say, hey, you know, my name is Sheila Burrell, and I'm a South Valley girl. And yeah, I made 2 Olympic teams, and yes, I've been able to, you know, do all these things that people think are amazing. However, I grew up in Valley Gardens, right? We didn't have sidewalks. There were cows across the street from my house. You know, you go to La Cueva, you go to Highland, you go to the Heights, and you know, our uniforms were just, we got nice uniforms, but you know, it was what it was. But you know what? We loved each other. We worked hard for each other, and the people in the community and the coaches and teachers that are here cared about us. And I think that is probably what stood out the most, is that, and Ray Apodaca's here, you remember when we went someplace, we were a team. We were a team. We were bonded by the community and by how much care and support that the teachers and the coaches and the student body all gave each other. No place is perfect. Do you have gangs, all that stuff? Sure. So what? No place is perfect. But when you have love, right, and you have caring, you have people like Coach Jones, people like Coach Pino, like Contreras, Ms. Rockwell that I remember. You have people like that. You know, Nikki Dennis, and you know, I can go on to Margie Meyer, people you don't remember that were my years. You have people like that around, guess what? You could do anything. Because there's people around you who believe in you and want to see you be the best that you can be in life, even if you don't make an Olympic team. You know, if you don't go and see your name in the newspaper and all that kind of stuff, but be proud of where you come from, because the people around you is what make you successful. And that's what I think is really important about my experience here at Rio Grande, and why I'm so proud and so honored to receive this, to be a part of this inaugural class. And I'm so proud and honored to be a member of, with all the other inductees that are here, because this place is special. It was special to me, and I know it still is special because there's a spirit about it. And I encourage the principal, Ms. Venezuela, to bring that spirit back. You know, to make these kids proud of where they come from and who they are, and be proud of being from the South Valley, right? Be proud of being from the South Valley, because that doesn't matter. When I leave here, guess what? I'm from the South Valley, but I'm Sheila Burrell. And I come from the South Valley at Rio Grande High School. And I'm Sheila Burrell because of all the people who have influenced my life. And a big part of those influences are people who came from this school and this community. So I appreciate all the time you just gave me. And thank you again, and have a good evening.
I was just teasing, and I think I can speak for Mrs. Valenzuela as well. Sheila, you should have never said you wanted to come back to campus, because we're going to invite you a heck of a lot. And we'll pay you in green chili enchiladas. Our final inductee tonight in the athlete category broke barriers as well. She achieved accomplishments unparalleled to many other Ravens. Initially, when I called her, she told me a story of how she didn't want to attend Rio. She wanted to go to the powerhouse, El Dorado, where they had Coach Flanagan, and they won lots of basketball. Thankfully, her parents didn't let her, and thankfully she went on to become a Raven. As a two-sport athlete, she's led the Lady Ravens basketball team to both the district championships and appearances in the state tournament. She was named to the NMAA All-Star Game multiple times, as well as named Player of the Year multiple times. She was a four-year letterman for basketball and a 3-year letterman for softball. Following her career at Rio, she attended the University of Kentucky on a basketball scholarship. And after a successful career there, attended training camp for the Los Angeles Sparks and played professionally in Brazil. Upon returning to Albuquerque, she's continued her commitment to our youth as current principal at Marianne Binford Elementary. Please welcome Natalie Martinez.
How about another round of applause for all of the inductees tonight? Wow. I mean, real morale. I'm honored. Thank you to Antoinette Valenzuela. She was Antoinette Perea when we played together on the basketball team. Thank you to Leslie Jackson, Coach Pino, our entire Hall of Fame induction committee. Thank you for all of the work that you've put in, and the students too. It was nice to meet you. Thanks for participating, and thank you to my Auntie Mickey, my Uncle Tootie, my cousin Jacqueline, and my Auntie Dodo. Thanks for being here tonight with us. So I grew up 4 miles from here in the heart of the South Valley. My middle school coach, Martin Arambidi, and my high school coach, Dan Simmons, taught me how to play. The people in the South Valley helped raise me, and I hope they all take some amount of pride in this. The people who actually raised me and supported me and drove me to practices and sacrificed were my parents. My dream of wanting to be a basketball player began while watching the Boston Celtics' Larry Bird and Los Angeles Lakers' Magic Johnson with my dad. We'd spend countless hours outside working on my ball handling, shooting jumpers, or competing in a game of around the world. My dad never gave me the upper hand or the easy win. He's always wanted the best for me. There was one time that we were playing against Sandia, and I know Antoinette was there for this game. It was just not a good game. Things were not going well. I think I was turning the ball over. I wasn't knocking down any shots, and coach takes me out of the game. That's what you do. You just got to give the player a reset, refocus, go get a drink of water, and I'll put you back in. I was about to take my very first sip of water when I was sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden I see a hand in the front of my face, and I look up and I see my dad. My dad had come down from the stands and he said, "Spit out your gum." And that was my dad. My dad was always there. Of course, you do what your dad says, and needless to say, I checked back into the game, and everything changed from there. Who would have thought that a piece of gum would have been the culprit of all of my woes on the court that day? He was my first coach. He was my first teacher of the game, and he's always known what's best for me. And to this day, I will not put a piece of gum in my mouth if I'm ever competing in anything. He's been a true girl dad. My father is here tonight. Dad, thank you. I love you. My younger brother, Stephen, one of my greatest fans, along with all my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, and my cousins. Stephen always wanted to hoop with me. I always told him that we could play a game of horse or a one-on-one after he rebounded at least 500 of my jump shots in the backyard. He always made sure to pump me up for games, and I'd spend countless hours watching game film, and when I wasn't watching on mute, you could always hear Stephen saying, "Take him to the hole, Nat." I needed that practice, and I needed to hear the belief that you had in me. Thank you, Stephen. I started playing basketball because I wanted to be like my older sister and my older brother. I adored them, and I wanted to emulate them. I was able to attend high school with my older brother, Joseph. He didn't play basketball in high school, but he was always there to make me feel safe, help me make new friends, and cheer me on from the sidelines. My sister Elaine and I did not play together in high school, but she always allowed me to tag along during her practices. She was my role model, gifted at sports in her own right, and no doubt is a big reason why I excelled so much. I wanted to be better than her. So thank you, Joe and Elaine, for being here. Now I came to Rio Grande because my mom was so adamant that I play for her alma mater. A proud class of '65 Raven, she would never think of allowing me to attend El Dorado, no matter how many state championships they had won. Attending Rio was the best basketball decision of my life. I am forever connected to my Lady Raven family. My junior year, our team motto was "From worst to first." And that is exactly right, right, Antoinette? Taking district and third place at state was one of the most magical seasons in the history of Lady Raven basketball. We may have never won a state championship in '95 or '96, but it sure felt like we did. I like to say that we paved the way for the team in '98. To all of my Lady Raven teammates, thanks for making that such a fun ride. I spent my college years playing at the University of Kentucky. Go Cats! My Wildcat teammates were very special, and I want to thank them for their friendship and help in getting me here. When I was in the 3rd grade, it was the first time that I got a chance to play on a basketball team. My parents signed me up at Westside, the Parks and Rec League, to play. My mom knew that I would be the only girl on the team with a bunch of boys, but it didn't matter. She knew that playing with the boys would allow me to either develop a work ethic, grit, perseverance, commitment, and a belief in myself that I can accomplish and do great things, or want to quit. And we all know how that played out. My mom was the voice of reason after games. We lost when I didn't play well. When we lost or when I didn't play well. She didn't excuse me. She didn't make any excuses for me. She gave me the pep talk that I needed to hear, not the ones that I wanted to hear. She made me the woman that I am today. No one would have appreciated this Hall of Fame honor more than my mother. Mom, I love you. My mom and dad knew I belonged at Rio Grande. They knew I was meant to be a Lady Raven. I was meant to play for the home team, and fortunately I knew that too, and I followed my heart. My experience at Rio changed my life, and for that I am forever grateful. I am here tonight because of my family and my teammates. Thank you.
Let's have one more round of applause for our inaugural class. We have one more final announcement tonight. We, and when I say we, I mean not Rio Grande High School administration and myself, have been keeping this announcement under wraps since the Hall of Fame began coming to be planned. You see, I was sitting in my office one afternoon last fall, trying to figure out what I was going to do as the new activities director with no students on campus and no sight of when they were coming back. And Coach Pino stepped by with the idea of this Hall of Fame. It was easy for me to quickly jump on board. I come from a background of athletics, and I love history. Over the course of the next several months, we began batting around ideas for the official name of our new Hall of Fame. At the same time, members of the community came forward to suggest that we name the new basketball court in honor of someone who has impacted Rio athletics. As all of these ideas collided, the choice became very simple for us. We have chosen to name our new Hall of Fame in honor of a man who has dedicated his career to athletics. For over 30 years, this man has dedicated his time and his efforts to all of the Raven athletes and our community. He's probably going to yell at me after I make this announcement, but we wouldn't have it any other way. It's my honor to announce that from this day forward, the Rio Grande High School Athletics Hall of Fame will be known as the Pete Pino Rio Grande High School Athletics Hall of Fame. Coach Pino, please come up.
On behalf of myself, I want to thank Mrs. Jackson, who keeps a secret very well, Mrs. Valenzuela, who is making a lot of big differences here at Rio Grande High School. I'm very appreciative for this honor, as any red-blooded American would be. I mean, this is an honor. I thank you all. I thank you very much.
For my family who knows me, keeping secrets is the hardest thing ever, so I'm so glad that's out in the open now. All kidding aside, we do want to thank everyone who's come here tonight. We know it's not just the athletes or coaches themselves. Behind every great coach and great athlete is a family that's helped them and supported them every step of the way. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all. And on behalf of Rio Grande, we thank you all for coming tonight. You will be invited back when we unveil your display case and our brand new baby across the way. Until then, if we can have all of our inductees come up with their plaques so we can get a few pictures. And again, thank you all for coming tonight.
So just really quickly, a small token. This is also a little secret and surprise from administration to Ms. Jackson. This is her first year in this venture of being the activities director, but when you talk about heart, she definitely brings that, and she wants, along together with the team, we are definitely bringing that pride back, because look at the impact. It's right there. It's you guys. So we are bringing that pride back, that pride and tradition back. So Ms. Jackson, we have a little token. You can show it really quick, because it is a piece of our bleachers, and it has our new Raven logo on it. So thank you, Ms. Jackson. All right, so now at this time, if all the inductees can come up so we can take some pictures.